Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, if you love a good beer, a good brat, or a nice soft pretzel, this is really your season. There are so many ways to celebrate Oktoberfest here in Pittsburgh and so many places to enjoy a great German meal. In honor of the beloved German Beer Festival, we're talking to a celebrity home chef and German food connoisseur about his favorite spots in the city for Schnitzel, Spaetzle, and more. It's Thursday, September 26th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Doug Heilman is the host of my other favorite food show, the Pittsburgh Dish Podcast. Welcome back to CityCast.
Thanks so much for having me, Megan.
Thank you for doing this, Doug. I'm going to start off with a real thinker here. What's your most unpopular opinion about German food?
Oh, the most unpopular opinion.
Yeah. Lay down a gauntlet here.
It's not for dieting.
Well, I know you come by your opinions honestly. I've heard you talk about your family. Were German food and German cooking a big part of your life growing up?
You know, that is an interesting question because my family, the German side, immigrated over in 1752. So we've been here a while. And a little really interesting fact is like even the first relative, his wife was swept away at sea coming over. So he ended up in like the Philadelphia area with a bunch of little kids. And so we've been here and sort of traversed the state of Pennsylvania. But I also think over the generations, we lost a bit of that German cooking culture. So when I was in high school, it was this internal thing I wanted to do. I wanted to revive it in my family. And so I joined German club and I took German as a language for 3 years. Don't ask me to speak any of it right now. But that actually was some of my best exposure beyond family recipes.
Yeah, sort of that reclamation that so many of us come to in adulthood, or I guess when we get a little bit older, when we can, you know?
That's right. Yeah.
Do you get down with a good Oktoberfest? Are you a fan of that? Because, of course, we're entering it this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like Oktoberfest celebrations that are going on around in the city. I think they just had one down in Washington County as well, but I missed that one this year because I was away. I think it's just a nice way to kick off fall. I mean, we are moving into shorter days, crisper season. It's all about drinking the beer and eating some heavier food. And I just think it's the best primer for like college football and pro football season and kids back in college and all those things. Sweater weather. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite German dishes or stuff that you like to order, you look for maybe when you go out to eat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Max's Allegheny Tavern has my heart. I mean, that was probably the first German restaurant I went to in 1988. So again, This was, I know, a high school trip.
You've been going for a minute then.
I have been going for more than a minute. And I distinctly remember and still like it. Let me just say first, all the sausages, of course, are great, you know, traditional. But they make a lot of old world favorites at Max's. And the thing that I ordered in 8th grade was the Sauerbraten, which is sort of like roast beef, and it has an interesting gravy. It is a little like sweet and sour. And so that just sort of sticks with me. And I think that when we think about German food, so much of that is sort of this sweet and sour vibe. When we think about the hot potato salad or that red cabbage that they cook forever. And I just love that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what are kind of the flavor profiles, I guess? Because, I mean, I think of cabbage and I think of potatoes, but I don't think I typically think of sour. But now that I'm thinking about it, mustard is also a big part of it. So what comes to mind for you?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So the mustards. And like when you go to Germany, like a ton of different variations on mustard.
When you casually go to Germany.
I've only been there once.
I flew over it once, but I have no claim to fame there.
Yeah, I need to make a trip back. But yes, mustard, and you think about pickling or the art of preservation. That's why the sauerkraut comes into play. This is all about preserving things for like that long German Bavarian winter type of stuff. And so I think those flavors really add in when you're thinking about native flavors from there. And then there are all of the sausages. So, it's a huge variation from veal and pork and beef, and you get the bratwurst or the knockwurst and kielbasa kind of just rolls right into there as well. So it really fits our overall local Western Pennsylvania vibe.
Yeah. I mean, and the one that comes to mind too, but I don't actually know if this like specifically is a German thing, like the pretzels, for example. For our vegetarian friends, there's not as much on a German menu for you, I guess, on that front. But yeah, are pretzels actually German? Is that a thing?
Well, yeah, when you think about like the Bavarian pretzel, and I think you're skirting between something that was a snack or maybe a bread or a roll, so to speak. And, don't quiz me now on exact history of everybody that made a pretzel, but definitely have some legs in the German cuisine.
Yeah, I think I've read once that the loops are maybe for the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, because, it's Western Europe, so everything has to come back to God.
Of course.
Well, you mentioned Max's. Let's get into some of your favorite recommendations here in the city. What do you like to go to and for what? Like, what do you order? What kind of vibe are you trying to set?
Oh, yeah. So, well, I'll just go back to say my number one probably is Max's Allegheny Tavern over on the north side. I mean, they've got a great menu if you're not even looking for German food, because they have a few bar items on there as well.
And also just like a really cool space in that bar. It feels like sort of a cross between like a diner, but also like this really old school, kind of ornate situation. It's hard to describe, but it's cool. It's fun.
I think I read that they've been serving food since 1890. So they definitely have been around. And it gives me a little bit of a Cheers vibe.
Yeah, I can see that. I like that.
They actually have an upstairs, like some kind of banquet areas. And that's what we did in high school for German field trips. Like if we were going somewhere, then we'd go to Max's. So that's how I remember the Sauerbraten. But I do think that out of a lot of the locals that are open all the time, they do the best on having a spread of like those old world favorites like the Sauerbraten or Leberkäse.
What's Leberkäse?
Okay, now I knew you were going to... quiz me on this. Leberkäse is like a sausage loaf. It's like beef and pork. It's not in sausage form.
More like a meatloaf?
Yeah, meatloafy. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. And then I think you were about to say schnitzel?
Oh, yeah. They do a ton of schnitzels. And here's what I really like. On the menu, they tell you like where every one of them came from, or a family or a king or whoever that originated. And so they have the Wiener Schnitzel, which is sort of Vienna's way of doing schnitzel. But then they have Schnitzel a la Holstein. They've got a Jaeger Schnitzel and so on and so on.
And schnitzel, I think I'm getting this right, is like a pounded meat that's breaded and fried.
Yes, that's exactly right. Traditionally, it's veal. I'm not a big veal person, so I will use a pounded chicken breast to kind of substitute that.
Okay. I think I've mostly had pork, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people do like a really thin pork cutlet as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of gives like katsu vibes, but German instead.
Yeah.
I've been to Max's brunch before, which they do, and like they have like their dining room area open, and then they devote one of them to like, it used to be buffet style. I haven't been back in a minute, so I don't know if they've returned to that. But it was just so many different types of things. So some of it heavy, some of it very light. But they also had one of my very favorite things about a brunch in Pittsburgh, which is a dessert section. So you could just really, like, you can have savories if you want, but you can also just eat your weight in different types of cakes.
That's right. A little Apfelkuchen, the apple cakes. I think my mom has 3 different apple cake recipes. And then I love chocolate. So any kind of like German chocolate, whatever you want to serve me, like that is good too.
So what else in Pittsburgh do you recommend?
Well, when I'm thinking more about kind of more beer forward, we're going out to drink and eat, I love going over to Penn Brewery. They also do a nice Oktoberfest. I think the menu's a little different than Max's because it's slightly more Americanized. But one of the things that I love at Penn Brewery, aside from a Penn Pilsner, is the way that they do Spaetzle, or the little drop egg noodles. They really turn that up like a kind of like a mac and cheese. They put breadcrumbs on top, some roasted tomatoes, and then you can add protein. So if like a mac and cheese is kind of your vibe, I really like that over at Penn Brewery.
I've never tried that from them. And Doug, I only know what that is because of your description of it when you were competing in the PBS show, The Great American Recipe. You get to watch you try to make it with, what was it? Am I saying this right? The Spaetzle maker that you brought from home?
Yeah, the Spaetzle maker. It's kind of like a flattened out colander. And so you make like a dough, and I put a little sour cream in mine, and then you push it through these holes into boiling water, and all of those little egg noodles drop, and you can just serve them with butter or sauteed onions, or you can make like a beer cheese. And I think that's what they do over at Penn Brewery. They add a little beer to their cheese sauce, and it's delicious.
Yeah, yeah. And then the actual hall of the place is like, it kind of has like a German beer hall vibe. It's all very dark, very red.
Yeah.
A lot of dark colors. And then they have that, I think, copper brewing system that's all through glass. So you really do get like a vibe when you're inside. And then, of course, outside there's beer caves, literal caves that you can sit in and drink your whatever with.
Exactly. In the better tempered months, you can be outside. You can see all of that brewing equipment. So I think that's the one up from Max's, is that you get a little bit more room to roam over at Penn Brewery.
But also a ton of cobblestones. So be wary if that gives you any trouble. What else is on your list, Doug?
Well, I haven't made it here yet, but Teutonia Mennechoir, which is like a private club on the north side, and they did just do an Oktoberfest. They do some open houses if you're not a member. So I talked to the folks from Discover the Berg. They had just been over, and really good spread of beer and food, but that's still on my to-do. And then I guess we should mention the Hofbrauhaus over on the south side.
Yeah, right there on the river. They do have incredible views. But they are also a chain. So I understand folks maybe counting them, but also putting a little asterisk there sometimes.
I'm in that same camp. That's not my first pick, but if we're giving the spread of places to go for that German feel, I think we are lucky as a city to have a Hofbrauhaus here in Pittsburgh. And if you look at the vibe and the pictures, and you look at the original one from Germany, and they're doing a good job. I usually bring out-of-towners to that one. I don't know why that happens.
See, I've been invited by out-of-towners to meet them at Hofbrauhaus, and every time I giggle.
They must do good marketing because out-of-towners always want to go. And I'd rather take them to our first two spots.
What about maybe outside the city limits? Are there any communities or any spots that you would recommend?
Well, not in the immediate local area, but if somebody's up for a drive, it's pretty easy to get over to Columbus. In the south part of Columbus, in Ohio, is German Village. And just the architecture there, it's like this beautiful neighborhood preserved in time. There's a few restaurants and coffee shops. And I actually have a friend that lives in that particular neighborhood. It's where the original Max and Irma's is from. I don't know if they're still open.
They're not the ones closest to Pittsburgh, but there are locations that still exist.
But there are 2 or 3 German restaurants in that neighborhood that just give you this immersive vibe. Again, I did a field trip when I was in high school to German Village.
I'm glad we're making you pull from so deep in your personal archives here.
But it's only like a 3-hour drive. It's, Columbus is fun. And, Route 70, you set the cruise control, get out there. You could have a day and come back, or just spend the night. I think that's sort of a nice, gas tank kind of vacation if somebody wants to try that.
No, Doug, I think this is perfect. Earlier this week, we were sharing a bunch of fall road trips from Pittsburgh. So like kind of in that sweet spot between 1 and 4 hours where you can technically do it in a day, but you might want to make it an overnight, that kind of thing. I think this is perfect for that.
Yeah.
Well, so since it's Oktoberfest season, a couple of weeks ago on this show, we talked about a ton of them that are coming, and we have a huge master list on our website right now. I encourage everyone to check it out. It's at pittsburgh.citycast.fm. But as you're consulting your personal calendar here coming up, A, do you have a favorite one that you won't miss? But B, is there anything maybe new that you're excited to check out?
I don't know if there's any that I'm really just desperate to hit. But I will say what I'm noticing now is that a ton of our breweries are doing a great job having Oktoberfest. So whether that's like beyond Penn Brewery, Golden Age or
11th Hour.
That's right. So there's just so many, and we're doing just such a good job with local brewing anyway. And you get out and you just got to try it.
Totally. And just a couple others I'll throw out there too. Vellum Fermentation on the south side, they're doing one. Cinderlands has one coming up. And I am really excited to check out this year the new one, the city's Oktoberfest. So that's from the 3rd to the 13th downtown. I really hope it's a good time.
That's a new one, right? That's never happened before.
Yeah, brand new this year.
And one more thing, if people are into this Oktoberfest season, I want to let them know that I'm actually doing a German cooking class at Third Space Bakery. It's coming up on 10/10. And in addition to me teaching you how to make Spaetzle and roast some sausages and all of those fun things, we are also partnering with Two Phrase. They're bringing their Oktoberfest beer to try along with our meal. So if somebody is into this Oktoberfest season, come cook with me. I'd love it.
Do people just show up, or is there a way to sign up in advance?
Oh, yeah. Great question. Go to www.thirdspacebakery.com. You look for classes and events. I think the max in that class is 12 and a few seats are already taken.
Perfect. Doug, we'll look out for that. Thank you.
Megan, thanks so much for having me on. It's always fun.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Doug. That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. If you're liking the show, if you have any great ideas for some of our food and beverage shows for Thursdays, we'd love it if you'd make a recommendation. You can always find us in our inbox. That's pittsburgh@citycast.fm. Or you can hit us up on Instagram. We lurk more than we post, but we are there. It's at CityCastPGH. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Talk to you soon.
And babes, I can't even say it. Babes October.